Hey, everybody, welcome to Monday. I know it got here so fast. Why? Is the weekend gone? Oh, my goodness. Anyway, you just tuned in to Act 3 on CHLY 101.7 FM. I'm Kathy Holmes. I'm your host for Act 3. Today in the booth, I have somebody extremely special to my heart. He is one of the funniest people on Vancouver Island, and you know him. I know you do. His name is Mr. Peter Hudson. So Peter is in the Zoom booth with me today. Hey, Peter, my friend, how are you, dude?
I'm good, Kathy. How are you doing today?
I am fantastic. I'm not happy that it's Monday, to be honest with you. I'm really not. I would really like to have more weekend. I think most of us would.
Yeah.
Tell me about how your Monday is starting today.
It's starting busy. I'm a full-time student now. So
Whoa!
yeah.
Tell us about that, Peter.
So I'm adulting on a Monday. I just decided I want to help my community more. So I decided to go into the crisis response and mental health support worker at DCC Discovery College.
I think that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. What brought you to that line of work? So sorry. What brought you to that idea? Because that is really quite a heart work.
It is. It's something that I want to fill my cup with. I have another day job. It's just not really doing it for me. I live downtown in the downtown area of Nanaimo. I see what's going on. I see so much drug abuse and mental health work that needs to be done, and just and our homeless problem. And I just really want to spend a lot of days helping those people. And so I would actually started volunteering for Nanaimo Outreach.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and I went out and I realized, I'm like, man, and they said to me, they're like, man, they go, you really connect so well with people. They said, especially the men.
Yes.
And they said that they've had such a hard time, especially because a lot of them are female workers, that connecting with, there we go. Sorry. I hit a button, but they said they had a really hard time connecting with men. And these men would just come up to me and start telling me their stories. And they said it was crazy. They'd be like droves of men. And I wanted to listen, because a lot of times that's just what they just need to be listened to and heard, and know that their voice is important, and that they're important, and that they're worth it, and they're worth change. Yeah. And they're worth a happy life.
So what brought you there? I mean, you're coming from a comedic background. That's how our community has known you for a very long time. You've been standing on stage and just really wowing us with incredible humor.
It's been a long road.
And it's a long road. And so now you're moving into the mental health side of things. And so how did that transpire for you?
Well, I will always do comedy, and I'll always do my projects, and I'm just going to go with the flow. Like it's, I always called comedy a hobby that I get paid for now, which is really, really sweet when you do something you love and you can actually make a living out of it and support your family. That's why school was so cool. Before I booked a bunch of shows before this COVID, before we got locked down again. And I was like, okay, cool. I can do school. I can do like a couple shows on the weekend and just do it. And all of a sudden, bloop. So,
oh, wow. I know that being an adult student isn't easy, though, in all fairness. It's really, it takes a lot of focus and a lot of challenge to sort of put yourself into a different place, especially with that kind of material.
Oh, yeah. It's totally. It's wild. It's been a wild ride to see what works and what doesn't. And you're talking about school or comedy?
School, and probably both.
Sorry, I'm like, okay, are we talking comedy here? No, but
it's probably both, right?
Totally. No, it's about balance, and as long as you know your priorities. School is tough, man. Like it's just going back, man. I'm 45 years old. I'm going back to school. This just shows anybody can do it, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wasn't great at school on the best days, but it's something I really love and I'm really interested in. I have a little 4-year-old daughter now. So it's like, now you have to lead. It's all of a sudden you're a role model, and you have to, like, I'm telling her I'm getting her, I'm like, hey, Juniper, I did my homework today. Hey, Juniper, I read a book today. Hey, Juniper, I killed it on my test. Like getting her want to get her in that mode that she's like, oh, dad, you know what I mean? So I'm starting getting it's pretty cool that I get the conversation starting that dad's going to school. She's like, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I just did a test and I just passed. And so yeah, it's as long as I think right now it's like I know my priorities, which is my family first. My daughter's, number one, teacher showing her the way, and then school, and then comedy, right now. So those are my priorities. So well, I don't know. Comedy's kind of ahead of school.
Yeah, I would say that comedy's probably a little bit ahead of school.
Like quite a bit ahead. It's my mistress.
But the good news is about having that kind of a mistress is that I would imagine that you're getting a lot of new material all the time, just simply for the essence of that, right? So why don't we talk a little bit about your career? Because for those of listeners that may not know that you are a fabulous comedian, why don't we talk a little bit about, some of your background in regards to comedy? How did you come to become a comedian? What happened in your life that put you on that stage?
Wow, that's a great question. I always wanted to be a stand-up comedian. I have a joke that I use. I'm like, yeah, I go when I was 18, I decided I wanted to be a stand-up comedian. I smoked a joint, and 15 years later, I started stand-up comedy. You know what I mean? That's pretty much what it was. I always loved stand-up. I loved the art. I always loved watching, like I grew up watching Eddie Murphy and Eddie Griffin and Richard Pryor and all the greats, and Sam Kinison. When I was a kid, I loved it. Just craziness. And then I'd watch improv on improv when I was a kid. It was Caroline's Comedy Hours on A&E or the Improv, and I'd always watch the comedians on there. I'm like, this is amazing. So I was always the funny guy and the funny guy at the parties and whatever. And I just didn't have the guts to get on stage. I always tried. I always wanted to. That's the hardest step, is actually getting on stage and doing it. So when I was 33, my friend took me for this drive. He's like, Peter, he goes, you need to get on stage. He goes, you're the funniest person I know. He goes, you love comedy. You're meant for it. He goes, you need to get on stage before you have regrets. Yeah. There's nothing worse than getting old.
Yes. Yeah.
And having regrets of what I wish I could have done.
Yeah.
I wish I could have. I could have been a.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I could have been a baseball player, I swear. Well, you need to try. Well,
I know I couldn't be a baseball player. I can tell you that for sure.
I was a slugger. Anyways, you know what I mean? But and it's just you have to. I think it's the biggest thing is we conquer ourselves with fear.
Yeah.
Fear is what kills us. We're not strong enough. We're not smart enough. And it doesn't have to be for comedy. It could be for anything. I'm not good enough. I'm not, funny enough. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I just got into my own head, and I was knee deep in addiction and all that shit too. So I was fighting other stuff too. And then it was really crazy because these two dudes moved from Prince George. And they put an ad out in the paper. It was just like at the right time. I looked at the paper. It was in my apartment. I looked at the paper, and it was like, it was 2009, 2010, and 2010. And I looked at this paper, and it said comedians calling out for locals to start doing stand-up comedy. So
we went to wow.
Yeah, it was just right there. It's Tristan and Joey. And it's funny because they open for me now.
Is that right? Isn't that great?
Once in a while, yeah. And they don't. One of them doesn't do comedy too much anymore, but the other one I never forget, right? And so we went to their house for a month every week, and we went over jokes. I had tons written, and Saulray had stuff written. And then at the end of this month, we had to go to the Rendezvous, which is now the Tandoori Junction.
Yeah.
So that little room there, that was a restaurant ran by Peter Ertzos.
Wow.
And I'm going to tell you a little tangent. I'm going to go off a tangent.
Yeah, rock on. We're in. Go for it.
So 2 years before that, it was about a year or 2 years before that, I was at my friend's house, and she was dating a medium, a psychic. And he's like, I want to read your hands. And he read my hands and stuff. And he told me, he's like, man, he goes, I see rooms of people waiting to see you, to laugh.
Wow.
He goes, a short, little fat, bald man in a gray suit is going to get your start. And that's all I see.
No kidding.
So I walk. So at the end of writing for a month with these guys, we'll go back to writing with Tristan.
Yeah.
For a month, we had a show with all these locals at the Rendezvous it's called the Star Room. And if you ever can take a look back there, it's beautiful. It's like a lounge. It's got mirrors, it's got stars. It's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous room. Like, what a great room to start comedy in.
No kidding.
It's about 80.
Yeah,
it's still there. It's hidden in there. If you ever want to go and walk back, ask them to go check out the Star Room in the back.
My gosh, it's too bad that venue is not being used.
No, it's ridiculous. It's so amazing. It fits about like 70, 80 people, maybe. I think we had 80 in there tops. And it has a big mirror on the wall behind you. It's crazy. It's awesome.
Wow.
It's where I first saw Matt Billen, my friend that just passed. Anyways, I first saw him with Mike McDonald. Anyways, so I walked in that room that night, and there was Peter Ertzos, who ran it. Have you ever met Peter Ertzos?
I think briefly, but I couldn't put a face to the human.
Little Greek guy.
Yeah.
He's very. So he's gay little short man that loves he'll let you know that he's gay. He'll look you up and down when you come in.
Oh, is that right? Oh yeah, wonderful.
He's brilliant. He'll like, why don't you come upstairs with me, Peter? He'll just throw it right on. It's hilarious, and I love him to bits. And such a great guy. Anyways, I go in there, and he's wearing this gray little suit.
Really?
Like the psychics, the short little van. So we came in there, and I went on stage, and I destroyed it. Like I just had that. Well, it's a lot of my friends there too, which helps. But I was just hooked from that moment on.
Well, I was going to ask you, how was your first show? Because so many comedians, they want to do it, and then they step on that stage, and that first time, they just vomit.
I was horrible. Like, I look back now, like my time, I was so nervous. I was like,
well,
I was like, boom, 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 just wouldn't stop, just like I am now. But
wow.
But I killed it. I destroyed it. I was like, and then that feeling, it's like no other drug could ever duplicate that feeling of killing a show. I still get it. I sometimes, like, you know what I mean? It's the adrenaline of people clapping and laughing, and I was hooked. And then the best part of it was I was working on the rigs in Alberta, and I was doing I'd be coming home, and I'd be doing coke and drinking and with a different girl every time I'd be coming home, not living.
I hear you.
I had one of my friends, I told him this, he was like, that doesn't sound so bad. I was like, no. But I was dead inside. You know what I mean? I was like dead inside. I was in addiction. Comedy actually got me. This is what I want to actually preach when I'm doing outreach, is that you need to not only go through recovery, but you need to find a passion to take your mind off shit. Get addicted to that passion. Get addicted to that, to what you want to do. Maybe music, maybe art, maybe building doors, whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? Maybe being the best coffee maker in the world. It doesn't matter. Just a passion. And having that. So I came back from the rigs, and on my weeks off, I was going and doing shows in Victoria, and I was writing, and I was staying sober.
Yes.
Because I never have liked doing comedy high or drinking.
I hear you.
I just couldn't focus. My mind would be scattered. It didn't work for me. It works for a lot of comedians, but it didn't work for me. So it kind of became my place, my solstice of, my cathedral
place that you needed to have.
Totally.
Yeah.
So on my weeks off, I'd be coming home, and I'd be going to Victoria 3 times a week and doing open mics, driving 3 hours and going to karaoke's around Nanaimo. Like, hey man, could instead of singing a song, could I just do 5 minutes? And you know what I mean? Because we couldn't get stage time. We're going to music.
I was going to say, what a wonderful way to get stage time. I wouldn't have even thought of that, but it's brilliant, right? Because you're there, you've got a captive audience already because they're there for karaoke, right?
Oh yeah.
And then instead of somebody actually singing bad notes quite often.
Yeah.
There's the comedian who has got something to say. So suddenly I would imagine the energy.
It totally, it went good. It went good. Sometimes it's very hard. It's very hard to do, especially in a music open mic too, to be successful at comedy, because it's a different vibe, and it's just all of a sudden change. You have to like really hit it on
the transition of it all, right?
Yeah, hit it on the nail. We used to, it's so funny because we used to they used to do karaoke at the Queen's.
Yeah.
With Andrea Adams. I think it's Andrea Adams, really nice lady. Anyways, they weren't getting very big numbers, very hard during the week, and nothing works during the week very well in Nanaimo and a lot of stuff.
True. Yeah.
But then we came
especially
in
with COVID, that's even made it worse for
performers.
Oh
yeah, totally. But this was years ago. This is like 2013, 2014, and anyways, we started doing what was called Karaoke. and it was how you could either go do 5 minutes of comedy or sing a song.
Right.
But it was so funny because by the end of the night, everybody got so wasted that the comedians were doing karaoke, and the people that came to do karaoke were trying stand-up comedy.
How wonderful is that?
It was a mess. It was awesome. It was one of the great. I wish it worked. Like, if we'd saying the numbers, they were great for a while, and then just, so.
Well, like anything else, right? People are fickle, right?
Yeah,
so
totally.
Are you still doing, I mean, I see on, because this is radio, our listeners can't actually see it, but because this is also going to be on YouTube, and I certainly encourage people to join our YouTube station, subscribe, and you can see, so many great people that have had something to say, including yourself, Mr.
Thank you.
But I noticed behind you, you've got, is it 510 friends? Or how does
510 and friends. So that was,
what is that? What is 510 and friends?
So we did, I have a character that I do called 5 to 10. Yeah. And some of our listeners might have heard about him or saw him. I did a song that last year called Plexiglass that was filmed at the Super Ed. And it was we started doing parodies. Anyways, 5 to 10 is a character I came up with about 3 or 4 years ago, living downtown Nanaimo. He has a guy that's, his name's Stu Jameson. He just got out of jail. He did 5 to 10 years. So he has a 5 to 10 tattoo on his neck. He has an oversized teardrop. He has a bike chain around his neck. He has a straight out of Harewood t-shirt. He says, bro lots. Hey, bro, dude, bro, dude, missing tooth. A guy that we all know in Nanaimo.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's funny because he's pretty popular, man. Like, if you want to see how popular he is, go downtown Nanaimo and have him walk around dressed. Even just people just honking. And I had 4 11-year-old kids come up to me the other day in the pool. I was playing with my daughter. They're like, hey, are you him? And I'm like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, oh, sorry. And as they're walking away, I started singing Plexiglass to them. Wow. I was like, I'm seeing plexiglass. Yeah. People in public don't know how to act. So go and get your ugly face a mask. I think I heard they come in 50 packs. Yeah, we did big songs. So they
wild, how fantastic.
And they were just turning around, their faces just lit up. They're like, they made their day. It's awesome. Cool. And it's cool, man. And I got to do it with I got to work with like just really awesome people. This whole project, like guys like Raymond Knight, who's a videographer, obviously, and
very good.
Yeah, Raymond Knight filmed 5 episodes. He saw it because I started as a stand-up character.
Yeah.
So just this really crass dude that just said really weird, like really over the top things that Peter Hudson almost, like, you could be not politically correct with this guy.
Yeah.
It's expected. So I will kind of, that's what I did. So I did it at the Vault, the open mic at the Vault. Some people's mouths were just like, I said the word. So I grabbed this girl's hand and I shook it. And I was like, and I smelled my hand. I was like, well, oh, what's your name? She's like, Melissa. I'm like, nice to meet you, Melissa. And I smelled my hand. I go, you smell a lot differently while you're awake, Melissa.
Oh my God.
And people's mouths, because he was a shock guy, and like that's what I wanted, was the shock. And
exactly.
people were like, but half the people were laughing too. They were just like, they couldn't help it. You know what I mean?
Well, you
And
can't because it's not expected. It's not
totally,
the norm. And
totally,
there's a character that's over the top that's sharing that.
totally. So,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
just a really great way of expression. I had my daughter and I got really, creative and my jutsu. I was just like, oh my god, it's the most. If I can create something that beautiful out of ugly me, you know what I mean?
Oh, I just love that. I love the whole concept, but I also think that, I love the idea that your daughter is involved in this with you now, and she's your inspiration for writing. And
Everything.
I mean, first of all, she's absolutely freaking adorable, right?
Yeah.
Like
Thank
killer
you.
cute.
Thank you.
Um, and so tell me about how, or tell us about how the relationship with your daughter contributes to the material that you're wrapping in your brain.
Everything. First of all, she like, it's funny because when I had her in I was just looking at these 2017 June, and then this is how much she inspired me. I got one right here. I don't know if you can see it. 2019, Just for Laughs, Northwest. I got into the biggest comedy festival in like one of the biggest comedy festivals in the world.
Yeah.
So
It's huge.
I was so inspired and motivated. And then and the next year I headlined it. So which is
Wow.
like no
Incredible.
first thing for anybody to ever do from Vancouver Island, like, and just, but I was just so, because I looked at my partner Sarah, and I was just like, she's like, I was like, man, I'd like to get it. She goes, why aren't you in there yet?
I
So
love
what's
Sarah. She's so
she's
fabulous.
so cool. She's
She's
like,
so fabulous.
what's stopping you? And you know what I mean? And I was like, oh, you know what? What do you think? But as for my daughter, yeah, she just inspires, and there's so much humor in, like, that's what comedy is. It's an idea, and how you feel about it is a punchline. So I just, I do lots of jokes about my daughter, and like one really funny one is about like when she was 2, she for a year she called every Buddhist statue daddy. I'm like, wow, I'm getting fat shamed from my 2-year-old. She did. There's
That's
just so much
hilarious.
humor and just in her life, or like how confident she is. I was like, she'll walk in her room, she'll like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
She's so confident. I'm like, man, I'm like, should I bring her back? Do I
yeah,
need to bring
yeah,
her back a notch of it? Do I need to cut it, like, to be like, hey, you're probably never gonna own a home, okay? So just slow it down.
yeah. Especially in this market. My
Yeah,
God.
totally. So
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, she inspires me so much. She just inspires me just every day. And she, it's so great for her to be around myself and Sarah. The arts, like, we're both super creative. We both
Yeah. Yeah.
innovative. We both, like, I'm not trying to blow my own horn here, but we both just get things done. We think outside the box. We do lots for our community.
You do.
we
Yeah,
help
absolutely.
we help people out. We're very, health oriented, and I think we're raising a pretty darn good little lady.
I know you are. That is for certain. You absolutely are. So listen, I'm going to just take a moment to get our listeners to reach out and grab themselves a paper and a pen, right? If you've just tuned in, you are listening to Act 3 on CHLY 101.7 FM. In the Zoom booth with me today is Mr. Peter Hudson. Peter is an extraordinary comedian,
Thank you.
also doing a lot of stuff for our community right now. And you know what, there's something about what you're saying to me that is resonating in a way that is a little bit unusual. Okay, and so I want to talk a little bit about falling. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about the fall on your butt kind of, or on your knees or on your body, but there was a time in your life, and when you fell, whether it was through drugs, through alcohol, through the loss of someone you love, through, like, that happens, right? People fall
Oh
in
yeah.
ways
Oh
that
yeah.
are so beyond, but you've been so inspirational to me when I hear your stories. And I'm curious, how did you get back up?
Man, like, I think I was telling you before, you need purpose, man.
Yeah.
Purpose is what keeps us going. You need something to drive you, to make you make you put one foot in front of the other, otherwise we are just going to marinate in our brains. We're going to marinate in our, and in our shit, like we said before. And
Yeah.
I think you think about yourself, but you also think about your loved ones, especially more now than ever. I have a little daughter that relies on me to be strong. The world's crazy right now. We're setting, our children up for failure in a way.
Yeah.
Like for just to deal with, well, not failure, but just to take on so much.
Yeah.
We're not dealing failure. We got to show children that the world is also beautiful too, and there's so much beauty to it. But we have to give our kids the tools
Yeah.
to process this world. And for me, like me helping people is what keeps me going too. Like I want to help people. I really want to help men right now.
Yeah.
And young men and kids. Like we have to, suicide for men is three times as much as to females. It's 75%.
Yeah.
All I've heard is, including losing my best friend. I lost my best friend just under 2 months ago, who took his own life. I was suffering with addiction. Yeah. And
sorry to interrupt you.
Sorry. I just gapped out there, but I got a little emotional there.
I can feel the truth coming out of you, and it's a true, beautiful piece of you. And I don't want to run away without exploring that. As long as you're comfortable. I'm comfortable.
I just needed a second to take a breath. I just had a flashback, but all I've been hearing, and especially through COVID, it's more through COVID because there's so much stress of men taking their lives. We're raised, I know I was raised to for dessert. I always say, what I ate for dessert at my house? My feelings. Don't be a pussy. Like those days are over. Don't be a pussy. Men don't cry. Fucking be a man. Like those like that, just thinking, man. What? We are allowed to cry. We're allowed to feel pain. We're dealing with like people are losing their jobs and don't have money and can't raise their family. There's so much pressure, but we have to teach this to our kids. Like this should be being taught at school. You know what I mean? When you're like 8 on, do you know what boys? It's okay to sit back and you don't have to suck it up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do. I know exactly what you mean.
You can cry and go punch something and be mad and be upset, but that's not another human. But you punch it.
Yeah, exactly.
But sorry to get so deep here, but that's just something I really I want to help, and I know that I'm going to help a lot of men on the streets too, because addiction is all part of that too. So.
Well, and that's why I wanted to talk to you, because I know that you've been down a really, really difficult, wearing, that's the wrong word, but the self-awareness that has come from you as a direct consequence of your experiences is nothing less than inspirational. And I just need people to understand, not just you, but anybody that's walking down that path, right? And has come out of it, right? There's a lot of, often, as you pointed out right at the start of the hour, you said, there's fear, right? There's so much that's going on right now in community. And so to be able to walk through that and let those voices in your head that said, don't, suck it up and all that stuff that you may have worn as a kid, you don't have to wear as an adult.
Totally. And addictions, very like these people on the street, they're doing the same thing. They're just killing themselves slowly. You know what I mean? Because they're covering up trauma and stuff. So I think we have to really just have compassion for people,
Yeah.
And
we wouldn't treat ourselves or our friends and the people we love the way we often treat ourselves.
No.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, we're hard on ourselves.
That beat up stick, right? Like, come on, like, take me down the runway, man. Like,
and that's the thing is, and you don't always know that people are hurting. Like that's the thing with my friend Matt there. Like he because I put him on, he was one of the best comedians in the country, if not the world. He was one of the best comedians to ever step behind a microphone. He wrote with Norm Macdonald. He worked with Tommy Chong. He worked with all the greats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He was a great himself. Anyways, when I was talking, he was in Mexico when it happened. When I was talking to him, everything, hey buddy, it's all good. How are you doing? You know, like,
Yeah.
because I put him on a pedestal as a friend too. Like I loved him, and I just thought so. He was just so great.
Yeah.
So I don't think he wanted to see. He put the armor up in front of me. So what I'm saying is, you don't always know that people are hurting. So
You know, I'm so glad that you said that. I'm so glad that you said that. There's a tremendous, especially when it comes to suicide. And you know, in all fairness, I'm not a professional counselor or anything like that. So like, I don't want to speak out of turn or have wrong facts here. But what I do know for sure is that suicide in itself is the silent killer for men, more than women, as much for women, but under different reasonings and different circumstances. I think that the pressure for men to produce,
yeah,
right?
yeah, it is. And it is. It's like you're being the man of the house and like all that stuff too. You know what? It's okay to be like, hey, you know what? I need a goddamn hand right now. I'm not doing good. And you know,
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
become really good with that. What I do and to battle with me, and like you're saying now, like especially dealing with the last few months, you know, I've dealt with. I have another personal thing happen. I don't want to get into it, but
of
the
course.
loss of Matt and everything, it all accumulated. But I'm like, usually like 10, 15 years ago, I would have just grabbed a bottle of Jack, a couple grams of blow, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
wallowed in my shit and it wouldn't have got better. And I'd probably be going down the same route Matt would have been, because it really takes you went dark. I went, you go on a dark route when you're battling addiction. And I still had my darkness, but I honored my feelings.
yeah,
I validated them. You know what I mean? I'm
yeah.
like, this is okay. And I number one, and I know everything was easier said than done, but I had good people around me, a support group.
Wow.
I reached out. I have I have these three dudes. I'm very lucky. I have three dudes that text me every morning by 6 a.m. and ask how I am. If I don't get back to them by 9, I'm scared
Yeah, they're checking you out.
my
Yeah,
door's
yeah,
gonna come off the hinges.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I started doing cold water therapy. I started going down the ocean. My friend Andrew, he's like, hey man, he goes, he's an indigenous guy. He's like, let's go down the ocean. Let's go in the ocean. I'm like, hell no. I'm not
It's
fucking going in the
cold.
fucking water. It's
I have
cold.
to take a double back when you said cold water therapy.
Oh
Then you
yeah.
said the oceans, I was okay, but
Mm,
cold water therapy, whoosh.
totally. So first thing I did was I got a therapist. I got a counselor.
Yep.
So I talked to somebody. I started reading. I'm just doing it the right way. I'm not doing it out of like, I'm talking about it. I got good people. I have strong men around me. And you know what? It wasn't hard, especially for men. I joined a men's group with Risebridge. And those guys, see there, they don't have to, I don't have anybody like that. Go down to you gotta push yourself.
Yeah, yeah. You got to step
You know,
outside
you
your
know
own
what I mean?
spot.
You got to be able
Yeah.
to be, you're like, hey, I'm sick. What do you do when you're sick? You go to the doctors or you go do something you go get ointment. Well, that was my ointment. And I went to this men's meeting and I have, two of them call me every, they're always checking in on me. Men need other men to talk about, and we're talking about feelings. It's amazing. But I started doing this cold water therapy with my friend. He took me down there, and the indigenous people have been doing it for thousands of years.
Yeah, yeah.
So I started looking at this Wim Hof. His name's Wim Hof, and he started this. He has it all locked down with like breathing, and he goes under ice and everything. He's wild. His wife committed suicide and left him with 4 children,
Oh my God.
and he started to doing his own therapy.
Wow.
So what it does, I go to the ocean because it grounds me. You can do it in your shower or whatever, but I go to the ocean because it grounds me, and I dunk myself each direction because it pays tribute. It pays
East,
tribute
west.
to
Yeah.
and I go in there, and it's cold, man. But I'll tell you, when you come out of that, what it does is it shocks you. It takes care of anxiety and helps you with depression. It's a natural ibuprofen, and it trains your brain to deal with fear. And that's what we do. That's what being in depression, everything, you're scared. You know what I mean? So it fears, and it helps me. It's helped me process my pain. So that's what I do now. Oh, and I go to the gym and run and just, yeah, I'm on a mission, you know?
Well, and the reason you're doing it is the most inspirational reason of all. You have
Yeah.
a beautiful little girl that
Yeah.
relies on her daddy.
Yeah.
And
And well, and you know what, the reason I'm doing, and I have to tell myself this too, is for myself.
yeah,
Because if you don't have self-love and if you don't love yourself, you're not good to my daughter. I'm not good to my family or anything. I have to always say that. Oh, yeah, I forget that. See, I even catch myself doing it now. I'm like, oh, I do it for my daughter, but no, I'm doing it for myself. Because if you're no good to yourself, you're no good to anybody.
so do you feel that you're standing now after taking such a fall?
Yeah. Yeah. I have a complete, utter purpose and goals and that are achievable. I got an album coming out. I got a comedy album coming out as 5 to 10.
Oh my God, that's great news. So when is
Yeah,
that? Again, great segue actually to tell people to go to
yeah.
music
I
and
don't. I
that.
haven't really even released it on the
That's
internet
okay.
yet.
That's
So,
okay. That's all good.
we've kept it like under wraps, and I actually did it with my friend the late Matt Billen. I started a parody song. I did a parody song called Plexiglass that I was just saying for you, and
Yeah, yeah.
it went really well on YouTube and everything. I did it last year. We're just getting it. So I kept on going with it because there was no stand up. I kept on going with it, and I made an album
Oh,
with a
wonderful.
band and everything, and we made 3 videos, and we got so February 14th we have our first video come out. Some of them dirty, some of them they're just hilarious and fun, and I think people are going to really enjoy them. I really like the music aspect of music with comedy. I think it takes it to a weird, really cool level, especially parodies. I'd like it's
Really, parodies are the best. Yeah,
they are people because
they're
people
just
get
simply
the
the best.
song.
They do. They get it. The tune grows in, and then the laughter comes.
Yeah,
Right.
totally. And then
Yeah.
I've mixed a show with that, and then we're going to start a bursary. We're going to start. I'm going to be spearheading the Billen project for my friend Matt Billen there, and with his family and everything. We're getting. We got Mindsci Creative with Brendan Hitchcliffe there. He's going to be helping us, and we got his sister and his girlfriend and we're all getting together as a collective, and we're starting the Billen project, which is going to be a bursary to put comedians through recovery.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? A little known fact about me is I used to date Howie Mandel's roommate, and he was a comedian as well, right?
Because
His
of course he
name is
was.
Lou Dinos is his name.
Yeah.
So Lou, the one thing I remember about Lou, and we didn't date for a long time because he lived in Los Angeles, right? So in all fairness,
Because he's a comedian.
he's a comedian as well, and that too. But one of the things that I always noticed is that he was really, really, really insecure about his shows every single time he went on, and every time he came off, it was, "How did I do?" How, like, there's a lot of. Is that common in comedians?
Oh yeah, we're the most insecure.
That's what I wondered. Right?
Lowest self-esteem, everything.
Yeah.
Oh, we need validating.
Yeah.
That's what I'm even learning that more like now. It's like for years I was like, how was it? I don't even care now. Now you know what I mean? I'll let the crowd tell me or something, but I don't lie. I still care.
I was gonna say, I think we care no matter what it is we're doing, whether we're on stage or off stage.
You know what?
Right?
We're supposed to have that attitude though. Like, yeah, I don't care. You know what I mean? But I do.
But it's a myth. Right?
It's
such a myth. Of course we care.
It crushes. Well, and see with comedy because you're looking for validation. Oh, you're laughing at me. And you know what? That's the thing. It's like some people, it's such a different variety of human being to be a comedian. You can be an extrovert, an introvert.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Maddie was an introvert. He was really quiet off stage, but like he'd get on stage and just kill it. Like no
so
other.
was Lou. Lou was one of the shyest people that you ever met. In front of people on stage, he lit up and he was sensational. But coming off stage, he was very, very shy and very,
And you know what? You picture a lot of these guys, like, you know, in high school, they were probably the same way and probably didn't have a very, you know what I mean? And all of a sudden they're like, people are applauding for them. And you know what I mean? Like you get addicted to that.
Absolutely.
Like, oh my God, I fit in. You know what I mean?
So that, and that's another great part of the conversation that we're having too, is that fitting in piece, right? You know,
Yeah.
the older that we get, people have this misconception that, okay, you graduated from high school, you finished college, maybe, maybe not, right? You're adulting now. And so you're supposed to be complete. You're
Yeah.
supposed to not worry about what other people say or what other people think, right? And you're in your mid 40s. I'm almost
Yeah.
60. I
What?
still,
No.
yeah, almost. So it's like, how is it possible, right? Like, how can we, like, how do we step outside of that? I mean, people tell us there's faith, there's lots of reasons, lots of things that do to keep us balanced,
Yeah.
right? There's stuff that,
Yeah.
but it's that I think we're evolving. What do you think?
Oh yeah. With age or
With age and with security, right?
oh
From where
yeah,
we were, right?
100% because things don't you put your I think your priorities kind of change too. Like your
Yeah.
priorities were as you get older or your family and shit and stuff. And like man, if you asked me 15 years ago if I would like even 15 years ago, if I would like how I would have been a great dad still, but
Yeah.
it's just like that she completely changed. Well, I guess even back then they just completely change your life too.
I think all children change your life, right?
Yeah.
And now I'm a grandmother. I have 2
Oh yeah.
grandchildren and a third on the way. In May is due. And my granddaughter, I had the great fortune of seeing both my grandchildren this holiday season. And I got to tell you, they were teaching me stuff. They
Oh
remind me
yeah.
of patience and, stability and comfort and
And
like,
beauty because you know what we as we get older we get numbed. We've seen everything. Oh, you know what I mean? Like my daughter will see out. She goes, look, Dad, there's a seagull on top of the light. And you know what? I'm just like, we miss it, and even more now because everybody's buried in their phones. We miss that.
yes.
We miss the beauty of the world, and they still see it. In the moon. Like she's like, Dad, look, it's the moon.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? We've seen thousands of moons, hundreds of thousands. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, totally.
we're mooned out.
We know what they look, although I must say I still do get excited when a harvest moon comes because they don't, the really, really big
Oh yeah.
moon
All
on
of
the
a sudden, all of a
horizon.
sudden Neil Young starts playing.
That's right. Totally. And I
Yeah.
start singing it in my head for sure.
Oh,
No
totally.
question.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. So as you move forward now, I'm just curious, and obviously you're going to school right now, and that's been a big part of your life, moving forward.
Yeah.
And throughout the process of going back to school, what are you learning about yourself as you go through the process of this stuff at school?
Lots of stuff. I'm putting a lot of actually pieces of the puzzle of my life together.
You are.
I come from a long line of addiction. My dad was an alcoholic. My mom still is a pill addict. And it's funny. She's like, oh, Pierre told me that she goes, Pierre goes, I've been doing antidepressants for 45 years.
Unbelievable.
And I'm like, Mom, I'm 45 years old. And she's like, and she's like, I know. That's all she said to me. She goes, I know. And I'm like, okay, cool. But
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, totally. It's like putting it all like, man, and the jokes I can write, like I've started writing all of that. I always said I'd always hear the pill bottles rattling.
Yeah.
I was like, until I was 10, I thought my mom was part rattlesnake. I'm not even kidding. I'm like, oh my God, we got a rattlesnake in my mom's bathroom.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
yeah.
I know, but growing up, putting a lot of the pieces of the puzzle, because we're doing so much with depression and addiction, and then finding out about myself and anxiety, and I never thought I'd get anxiety reading about anxiety.
Oh, but you know what? I think that there's a trigger there for everybody. And if anybody has anxious moments to go into that meat and potato and start unraveling it, it's quite something.
Yeah, totally. And it's funny because sometimes we'll change from one bad addiction to another. Like for me, I went from, party drugs and booze, and then all of a sudden I started getting anxiety. So I started covering it up with Ativan and lorazepams, and I got addicted to those. So we have to be careful also too. So that's why I'm trying to go in. So I'm 6 years, no Adamans. Thank you.
Congratulations. That's incredible.
They were a tough one to get off. They were
I
probably
bet.
the toughest.
Yeah.
They're the magic pill.
Well, yeah, because they calm everything down.
Oh, yeah, you just baby bird yourself.
Basically,
You know what I mean?
totally.
Better.
I like the concept of baby birding yourself.
Yeah. So yeah,
With a jagged little pill, it's like,
yeah,
oh,
totally.
it's not jagged. Oh,
I
nice and slow.
I got a nest in the back there. I just sit in and it's so weird. So
Yeah. So it's funny that you should say that, because it's bringing me to another question. If you could identify, this is actually a question that often psychologists and counselors will use to help sort of define the understanding of self, right? So this, I'm just going to throw this out there again. Remember, I'm not a counselor, I'm not a psychologist, but I love this question. If you could be an animal, which one would you be and why?
Man. I think I'd want to be an eagle.
Tell me why. That's great.
Because they're strong.
Yeah.
They're leaders.
Yep.
And they soar. They can fly, which is amazing. And soar. I think they have a pretty cool life. I think I would want to be, out of any animal.
Yeah.
I would want to be an eagle. I love how they just soar above everybody. And
well, and they can see things from way.
They see the world. Totally.
Yeah. They see it all.
And I like, totally. And they get, it's cool.
I think that's a great answer. I really do. It's time in the show when people need to reach out to find out how that they can get a hold of you. So if you have a show coming up, if you have a phone number, an email, whatever.
Well, no shows coming up. They were
I guess not. It's still not yet.
You can. I would like you to talk to Mistress Bonnie Henry about that, please.
I will. Please do. I will do the same. You betcha.
Okay. So for social media, it's Peter Hudson Comedy on Facebook. Peter Hudson Comedy on Instagram. Peter Hudson, you can do 5 to 10 at 5 to 10 bro on Instagram, 5 to 10 bro on Facebook, Pete Hudson 5 to 10 on TikTok, and 5 to 10 bro.com as my website. That's a lot of stuff. So if you even catch one, just, you know what, write me and say hi. I would love that. We got lots of cool stuff coming up, and we have to support local, whatever it is, music, comedy, whatever. I produce some really great shows. So get a hold of me, and thank you for your time.
Well, it's always my pleasure to have great guests, but in particular, my favorite part is when I come towards the end of the show and I get to have the takeaway, right? The nugget, the wisdom. So take a deep breath and share.
I'll take a shot of coffee for that. I'll take a shot of coffee for that one.
It's still Monday. It may not be morning, but it's still Monday.
Do you mind if I smoke a joint right now and get really funky with this?
Hey, rock on.
It's legal. I'm gonna throw on a little Bob Marley and get real down. You ever heard Three Little Birds? Let's do it.
I love Bob Marley. I have to tell you.
I do. Everybody does. Yeah. I've actually been working out to him lately, which is really weird.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, the beat, the boom,
it's perfect.
Tick a boom, tick a boom, tick a boom. You know what I mean? That's like some people run to heavy metal. I can't keep that pace. I'm at a reggae pace. Like boom, tick a boom, tick a boom, tick a boom, tick a. Pretty funny. Now that's a joke I have to write. There we go.
You're gonna have to write it down. You'll have to for those. Another good segue for those of you who are listening on CHLY. Thank you so much for listening. And if you're listening by YouTube, make sure you think about that joke the next time you're flicking around for chicka boom, right?
Right.
So Peter, what's your wisdom?
What's my wisdom?
Yeah.
Just to have kindness and love and compassion in your heart. Moving forward, there's so much. There's a lot of hate. I wouldn't say like overcomes love. There's a lot of hate in this world, and the world's getting crazier, and there's a lot of obstacles stuck with us. But I think if you just hold your family close and have love in your heart and educate our youth, I think we can turn things around and have a pretty good world. We need love, and we need nature too.
Yeah.
We need to be nature, we need to ground ourselves and take a time to take a deep breath. That's all. They just breathe it in, man. Slow it down. In through the mouth, hold for 4 seconds, out through the nose.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something to be said about taking a breath. I've got one last question for you. And I don't normally ask another question after I've done the wisdom thing.
I don't know if that was enough wisdom. Was that enough?
That was great wisdom, because it's the truth, right? We don't have enough going on in love. There's a lot of judgment that's going on out there, right? And especially for somebody who is walking the streets of Nanaimo lost, or anywhere in the country, I don't care where you're from, right? Anywhere in the US, Canada, North America, anywhere in the world, if you're walking the street and you're lost, we need to love, right? And that includes these wonderful people that are often lost and forgotten, and I don't like that at all. But that wasn't what my question or my statement was.
Okay.
Where I was going with it is, through today's conversation, we have spoken about your relationship with your daughter, and how much you've learned from her. My curiosity as we close out the show today is, what would your 4-year-old self say to her 4-year-old self if you were a little boy again?
Just be a kid. Just be a kid and don't rush it.
Yeah.
That's
Adulting up is too fast.
Yeah. And just have, like, all I'm all about is just have love in your heart and compassion. And, I grew up a pretty angry young child. So don't be angry. It's going to be okay. Let the love sink in. You got 2 parents that love you and the world that cares about you. So let it sink in and with our love inside you, express it to others. That's all I'd like to say.
Couldn't be more perfect than that. Peter Hudson, thank you for being on the show today. Thank you for your vulnerability, for your honesty, for your kindness. Thank you for sharing with us what we need more than anything right now, and that's a wee bit of love. It's been great having you here.
Thank you very much, Kathy. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody, for their time. Thank you.
And have a great day, everybody.
I will. You made me cry. Thank you for that one. Just get me talking about my daughter and crying.
But you know what? There's something to be said for that, Peter. I think we need to honor exactly what you said 15 minutes ago or 20 minutes ago when you were saying it's okay. This is exactly why showing up matters.
Yeah.
Every day.
Totally. It is okay to cry. Hey, I was just going to go to the mirror and tell myself to stop, quit being a pussy.
Well, don't be doing that, dude.
Quit it, Peter. Right on. No, thank you so much, Kathy. You have a terrific day, and I appreciate you.
I appreciate you right back. Peace. Take care, ladies
care.
and gents. That does it for Act 3 today. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Have a great day. Bye for now.